Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Before we begin, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It's been all over the news lately. Gasps, whispers, and a frenzied search for answers. Recent updates regarding Mark Consuelos' condition left Kelly Ripa inconsolable. The entertainment industry was abuzz for weeks as people speculated about a problem that felt all too familiar, letting their imaginations run wild. We are deeply saddened by the loss of a cherished presence who brought joy, laughter, and an indescribable bond to their home over the years. The truth behind those tears was undoubtedly painful, but it was also a powerful monument to a love story that went beyond anything a tabloid could ever portray. This is a tale that will make you think about the remarkable connections we form and the incredible strength we discover in the unlikeliest of places. Keep watching, because the reality that Kelly and Mark disclosed is a global truth wrapped in a very personal sorrow that affects us all. Millions of viewers across the United States went about their normal Monday morning routine. Live with Kelly and Mark, with its friendly faces and lighthearted conversation, promised to be a typical show. On the other hand, something seemed off. There was an air of tension, and Kelly's normally bubbly personality had taken a somber turn. Then, instead of reading from a script, the words flowed freely from the heart of a husband sharing heavy news. The camera soon spotted Kelly, her eyes shining and tears falling down her cheeks, as Mark Consuelos, the ever-supportive spouse, began to speak. The internet exploded, as it usually does. The sound of Kelly's sobs quickly went viral. Even though Mark is 53 years old and looks fantastic, our thoughts immediately turn to the worst-case scenario, a major health emergency, the kind of news that puts a dark cloud over life. Hushed doctor visits and uncertain futures were all things the public imagined. Their relationship is nearly legendary after 28 years of marriage. They feel like family to us. The public's quick and worrisome assumption was that one half of this iconic duo was in physical trouble. But when the real news broke, it changed everything. It revealed a different type of suffering, the kind many of us are familiar with but don't often see public figures discussing. What could have caused these two celebrities, who usually handle fame with such poise, to let their emotions run so raw? What matters most is not what they lost, but rather the companion they loved without condition. Then came the moment of truth. The way Mark said it was so sensitive it spoke volumes. Neither of them was hit by a sudden severe illness. Instead, Kelly was feeling a deep sense of mourning. Tears welled up as they remembered a beloved family member who had been there for them in a subtle but profound way for 17 remarkable years. They had just lost their dear dog, Chewy, and they were heartbroken. Now, for many people, the first reaction might have been shock or even wondering what the big deal was, but Kelly's emotions make perfect, tragic sense to anyone who has ever welcomed a furry friend into their home and experienced the silent, unconditional love that radiates from those kind eyes. Chewy was more than a dog. She was an observer of their lives, an unspoken protector, and a rock of constant solace through thick and thin. When she passed away, it was as if the curtain closed on a major chapter of their family's history.
The Ripa Consuelos family welcomed Chewy, a Shih Tzu puppy, into their home years ago, a little ball of fur that would grow to be a tremendous influence. Consider that for a second, a span of 17 years. In a dog's lifespan, that is an eternity of loyalty. There was a lifetime of cuddling at their feet, welcoming them home, and providing a shoulder to cry on when times became tough. During their children's formative years, Chewy was present for everything, from their first steps to the heartbreak of the teenage years, and finally their departures for college. For many late-night discussions and early morning commutes, she was the one constant. In his tender retelling, Mark shared stories that struck a chord. The unsaid comfort that Chewy brought to anyone who was sad was contagious. The loss wasn't just a pet. Fans have always found joy in the lives of Kelly and Mark, the adored television personalities and married couple. Their genuine friendship and magnetic on-screen chemistry have made them a beloved Hollywood pair. By opening up about something so private, Kelly and Mark showed their fans that even prominent people deal with profound grief. They were honest about the mental and emotional toll the loss took on them. They made it clear that while the agony was excruciating, it also strengthened their bond. They grew closer, learning to rely on one another in new ways. Even the charming Mark Consuelos broke down in tears as he spoke about how the loss affected their household. Kelly Ripa, famous for her vivacious personality, discussed how the ordeal made her rethink her priorities and seek out methods of healing. Although they initially wished to keep this experience secret, they realized by sharing their story they could help others going through the same difficult journey. Their fans have been tremendously moved by this candor. Thanks to their openness, viewers now know it's all right to cry, to be vulnerable, and to seek assistance when needed. Celebrity, wealth, and social standing do not shield one from the pain of goodbye. Through their narrative, Kelly and Mark reminded us that resilience, love, and the curative power of speaking one's truth are the fundamental components of the healing process. The silence in the Ripa Consuelos household following Chewy's passing was not just the absence of a bark or the pitter-patter of paws on hardwood. It was the heavy, echoing quiet that follows the departure of a family's silent witness. For 17 years, Chewy had been the stoic constant, as Kelly beautifully put it, watching the seasons of their lives change from the front row. As the news of her passing rippled through the public, the initial shock turned into a wave of shared mourning as thousands of people reflected on their own Chewys, the companions who stayed when everyone else moved on. One of the most touching revelations Mark and Kelly shared was that Chewy's influence extended far beyond their apartment walls. In her final days, the little Shih Tzu received what Kelly described as a presidential farewell. It wasn't just close friends and family who came to pay their respects. It was the people who make up the fabric of daily life. The mail carrier, the neighbors, and local shopkeepers all stopped by to say goodbye to the dog who had become a neighborhood icon. This outpouring of affection speaks to a truth often forgotten in the glitz of celebrity, that pets are the ultimate bridge between us. They don't know about Emmy Awards or television ratings. They only know kindness. To the people in their New York City community, Chewy wasn't a celebrity pet. She was a friend they had watched grow old over nearly 2 decades. The details of Chewy's final day provided a window into the agonizing responsibility that comes with being a pet parent. Mark, with a voice thick with emotion, described the decision to pursue in-home humane euthanasia. It is perhaps the ultimate act of love, taking on the immense pain of loss so that a beloved friend no longer has to carry the burden of a failing body. She had stopped eating, Mark shared, explaining that her neurological health had taken a sharp decline. The doing the right thing that he spoke of is a cross many pet owners have to bear, and seeing a man as stoic and strong as Mark Consuelos admit that it was one of the toughest things we've ever had to do as a married couple offered a rare, unfiltered look at the reality of end-of-life care. To understand why this hit Kelly so hard, one has to look at the timeline of the Ripa Consuelos family. When Chewy was first adopted, right there on the set of Live in 2007, the children were just little ones. Michael, Lola, and Joaquin grew up with Chewy as their 4-legged sister. As the years marched on and the nest began to empty, Chewy remained. She was there for the first days of school, the high school graduations, and eventually the quiet mornings after the kids left for college. She became the anchor for Kelly and Mark during the transition into their new chapter as a duo. For Kelly, Chewy was the living link to her children's childhood. Losing her was in many ways like saying a final goodbye to those years of raising a young family. In a moment of tragic comedy that only Kelly Ripa could deliver, she shared a detail that brought smiles through the tears. Chewy, for all her loyalty, was precious about her face. She wasn't the type of dog who enjoyed being smothered with kisses on her nose. She was, as Kelly noted, very much like a cat in her need for personal space. After she passed away, Kelly admitted, I kissed her 1,000 times on her face. I kissed her nose. I never kissed her nose before. I know she was somewhere in dog heaven, pissed off, but I didn't care because it was just so nice to have that. This small, intimate detail resonated with anyone who has ever loved a pet with a big personality, the ones who have boundaries and quirks that we respect for a lifetime, only to break them in one last desperate moment of goodbye.
The couple's decision to be so transparent about their grief has started a larger conversation about the legitimacy of mourning a pet. In a world that often tells us, it was just a dog, Kelly and Mark stood their ground. They showed that grief is not a competition, it is a testament to the depth of the bond. Kelly's apology to the audience for her tears, "I thought I got it all out," was a reflection of the guilt many feel when they are unproductive due to sadness over a pet. But as the days have passed, their message has shifted from sorrow to gratitude. They still have Lena, their 4-year-old rescue, who has been navigating her own silent confusion in a house that suddenly feels too big. Lena has become a source of comfort, a reminder that while one chapter has closed, the cycle of love and care continues. As we look back on this past year and the emotional update from Kelly and Mark, we are reminded that vulnerability is a superpower. By showing the world their red eyes and trembling voices, they didn't just share a news story, they gave a gift to every person who has ever felt lost after the passing of a pet. They reminded us that the strength of a family isn't found in the absence of pain, but in the ability to lean on one another when the world feels a little colder.